Hey guys, what's up? Tion back again with another video. Last time we took on Platinum with only a Munchlax, and that was a really fun run to do. Today we're going back to Emerald once again and finding out, can you beat Pokemon Emerald with only an Eevee? Taking a look at Eevee's stats, they're all around mediocre. Eevee's best stat is its special defense at 65, and its worst being special attack at 45. But all around, it's not a terrible Pokemon. Looking at Eevee's learn set, we learn absolutely nothing good. The best move we get, technically speaking, is Bite at level 30. All Dark-type moves in this game are special, so I doubt it's going to be much use for us. Looking at the moves Eevee could learn via HM/TM, we have an okay selection of moves, but it's definitely not good news for us. Let's get into the rules for this run. Rule number 1 is no using other Pokemon in battle besides Eevee. Rule number 2 is no using items in battle. Held items are going to be allowed though. And rule number 3 is no hacking or cheating of any kind besides getting Eevee at the very start of the game. And with the rules out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this run. I end up replacing Trico with Eevee, that way our rival will choose Torchic and give us the hardest challenge. Of course, the first battle with the Zigzagoon goes as expected, and I'm able to take out Zigzagoon with only 2 tackles. At Professor Birch's lab, I have to give a nickname to Eevee, and I end up naming it Eevee. I know this is an awful nickname, but I also gave the same nickname to the Eevee I did in my very first challenge run over 2 years ago. Next, we have the Battle May, and this battle went pretty well considering I was able to win only using Tackle 4 times. First gym leader in this game is Roxanne. Now, Roxanne, of course, is the Rock-type gym leader. The only non-normal move that we do learn is Bite, all the way at level 30, so I'm thinking of using the struggle strategy for Roxanne. On our way to Rustboro, we do have to fight this Team Aqua Grunt in the Petalburg Woods. At this point, I did level up a few levels, and now I am at level 11, and I'm able to use Tackle on Poochyena, doing a decent chunk of damage as my second tackle ends up being a crit, and just like that, we defeat the Team Aqua Grunt. So far, so good. Once I arrive in Rustboro City, I do go northeast into this patch of grass and end up grinding all the way up to level 25. I know I could have grinded all the way up to 30 so I could just use Bite, but I figured at level 25 I'd be strong enough to win with struggle. Let's try Roxanne. For this battle, I gave Eevee an Oranberry. That way we just have a little bit extra HP in case we need it. She leads off with a level 12 Geodude who goes for Defense Curl as I hit it with a struggle, and my second struggle ends up being a critical hit, so it takes it out. Roxanne's second Pokemon is another level 12 Geodude, and I end up hitting it with struggle, doing about half damage to it as it tries to hit us with Rock Tomb, but luckily it ends up missing. Next turn I use struggle once again, and it is enough to take it out. Last but not least is the dreaded Nose Pass at level 15. Now this thing is an absolute tank, so we have to be careful here. I end up going for struggle, doing about a quarter of HP to Nose Pass as it misses its first Rock Tomb and connects with the second one, only doing 9 damage but lowering our speed. Nose Pass then eats its berry, getting some HP back, but another struggle is enough to take it back down. I end up getting hit with another Rock Tomb, lowering our speed once again, but it does activate our Oranberry, so we get some HP back, but she also heals up Nose Pass as well. Of course, the only move I can use is struggle, so I just continue to use that as I get hit with another Rock Tomb, and one more struggle is, oh, just kidding, she has a potion. Of course, at this point, I know I've won, and I just have to keep using struggle as she stupidly goes for block, just literally wasting a turn as I'm able to finish it off with 2 more struggles, and I finally defeat Nose Pass. The grinding definitely took forever, but I'm glad I didn't have to go all the way to level 30. And after receiving the stone badge from Roxanne, we make our way to Dewford Town. Well, after I save Pico, of course. I'm already super over leveled, so I go ahead and try Brawly. Surprisingly enough, 2 quick attacks is enough to take out Machop, and 2 quick attacks is also enough to take out Meditite. Last but not least is Makuhita at level 19, and it definitely did cause a lot more of an issue than I thought it would. Makuhita has a berry, unfortunately, so it heals back up all the damage we did from quick attack as we barely are able to hang on from 2 vital throws and finish it off with 1 more quick attack. Well, 2 quick attacks, but you know what I was trying to say. And 1 uneventful gym battle later, we do have the second badge from Brawly. I thought this was going to be a lot harder, you know, since we are a normal type and this is a fighting type gym, but no, we just completely steamrolled over him. That was pretty crazy, but do you know what else is pretty crazy? It's crazy that 87.8% of you watching right now are not subscribed. If you guys don't mind, please hit that subscribe button below if you want to see more content like this. I will not let you guys down. After that, I deliver the letter to Steven, and then he gives us the TM for Steel Wing, which is completely useless since we're using an Eevee. I then try to deliver some parts, and then I get jumped by Team Aqua members, but I easily end up defeating them as Archie ends up yelling at us. Now it's time for the dreaded May fight. May leads off with a level 18 Wingull, and we are level 29 at this point, so 1 quick attack is enough to take it out. Next up is her level 20 Combuskin, and for some reason it ends up going for Focus Energy, so we just use quick attack twice to take it out. Last but not least is Lombria level 18, and of course I just end up taking it out with only 2 quick attacks after it hits us with a weak Swift. The next gym leader is Watson, and of course I'm not looking forward to this one. Now of course Watson does have the Magneton that everybody hates, and I know since we have no good moves against it, we have to grind up to a stupid level just to stand a chance. Once I'm at level 37, I decide to give Watson a try. Voltorb ends up going down to a few quick attacks, and we're able to one-shot Electrike with only 1 quick Attack, and the problem Magneton is out next. Over the course of a few attempts, I figure out that Tail Whip is actually super useful in lowering Magneton's defense, as we're able to finish it off with a few quick attacks. Last out is Manectric at level 24, who ends up hitting us with a powerful shockwave, bringing us down to 30 HP, as we end up hitting it with a Tail Whip and then quick attack, almost taking it out. Manectric then decides to go for Howl, which is pretty scary considering he does have quick attack as well, and I just end up trying to use quick attack, but of course I'm paralyzed because that's just my luck. Actually, my luck's not too bad because I'm able to one-shot Manectric since I did do those tail whips. I made this seem easier than it actually was because I did this on stream and it literally took forever to get to that level and get lucky enough to beat him. But for your guys' sake, I edited it. Okay, I edited it down for you guys. At this point, I really need an HM slave, so I go back to Route 103 and I catch a Zigzagoon and name it HM Boy because Wiggo stole HM Boy. I then make my way to Meteor Falls where the red team and the blue team fight it out because one Beyblade is better than the other. I'm not really sure. I haven't been paying attention. All jokes aside, Team Aqua wants more water and Team Magma wants more land, and that is the entire premise of this entire game. I then make my way to the top of Mount Chimney where I have to fight Maxie. Maxie leads off with a level 24 Mariana as I send out Eevee all the way up at level 42 now, and quick attack is doing a decent amount of damage as I do get hit with sand attack and Maxie heals it up with a super potion. Of course I just have to keep on using quick attack, and even though I miss one, as soon as the other one connects I end up taking it out. Next out is Zubat at level 24. Now of course Zubat is not going to be much of a threat as I almost take it out with only one quick attack as I get tailed up with a super potion, but we put its HP right back down with quick attack and take it out. Last out is a level 25 Camerupt and I end up going for Bite to try to get a flinch here, but I do not get it unfortunately as I get hit with a magnitude 8, doing a good chunk of damage, but I'm able to finish it off with a quick attack. Now that Maxie's out of the way, next up is Flannery. Before I take on Flannery though, I go ahead and get the TM for Return by returning the meteorite to that scientist, and Return is going to be one of the strongest moves we could learn. Return does more damage the happier a Pokemon is, and I'm pretty sure Eevee is already at max happiness, so I go ahead and replace Tail Whip. Return's also going to be Stab, so this is absolutely the best move we could get for right now. I then make my way to Flannery and she leads off with a level 24 Numel. Surprisingly enough, Return is enough to one-shot Numel, and I definitely wasn't expecting that. Next up is Slugma at level 24 and also gets one-shot with Return. Next out is Camerupt, and surprise surprise, Return is a one-shot hit as well. Flannery's last Pokemon is a Torkoal at level 29 and I do go for Return here, but it actually ends up surviving with just under half HP as we get hit with Attract. I then go for Return once again, but of course I'm immobilized by Love as I get hit with a Body Slam, making Eevee actually snap out of it and take out Torkoal the very next turn with one more Return. That was actually a pretty easy gym battle, and that really couldn't have went any better. I then reunite Bobby, Wasabi, and his girlfriend, and he gives us the HM for strength in return. Next up is our dad, Norman, the normal type gym leader. This goes pretty well as I just end up using Return, one-shotting Spinda, and use Sand Attack on Slacking. Slacking then goes for a counter, but of course it didn't do anything because we didn't actually attack him this turn, as I go for Return, doing a good amount of damage, and one more Return is enough to take him out. Next out is Vigoroth at level 27, and I end up going for Return, and it's actually a one-shot, surprisingly enough. Last but not least is a level 29 Lanoon, and if a Vigoroth can't survive a Return, a Lanoon cannot survive a Return as it goes down. These past two gym battles have been an absolute joke thanks to Return. I think that Return is probably way too good. Being stabbed plus max happiness is really helping us out in these battles. Next up is Team Aqua at the Weather Institute, and I'm able to one-shot both of her Pokemon with Return, so it's nothing really special to talk about. But what I do get from driving out Team Aqua from the Weather Institute, I get a cast form and name it like to remind you guys to like the video if you are enjoying so far. Next up is the last mandatory May fight that we have. She leads off with a level 29 Pelipper, and of course I end up going for Return, but unfortunately it uses Protect, so it just protects obviously, and then it uses Protect again, which is just stupid. Fortunately, next turn I am able to get off a Return and take it out with only one hit. Next out is Combusken at level 31, and surprisingly enough I'm able to outspeed this thing and take it out with Return. We're really not that much over leveled, so I'm really surprised that Return is doing this much damage. Last out is Lombre and ends up going for Fake Out, only doing 5 damage, so I finish it off with one more Return, beating May and finally getting rid of her. But she does give us the HM for Fly, so that's really nice, May. I appreciate it. After me and Steven conspire to kill a Kecleon, we have access to the Flying Gym. I think that Return's gonna do most of the work, but I'm really not sure how we're gonna deal with her Skarmory quite yet. She leads off with her level 29 Swablu, and no surprise at all, that's not bulky enough to tank a return from Eevee. Next out, Stropius at level 29, and I'm almost able to one-shot it with a return as it hits us with an aerial ace, gets healed up with an hyper potion, so I just end up using a quick attack and one more return to take it out. So far so good. We just reached level 51, so that's pretty impressive as well. Next up is Pelipper, and I have no idea how, but once again this Pelipper uses protect twice, which is just so unlikely and dumb at the same time. But of course as soon as I connect with a return it takes it out. Next out is Skarmory at level 31, and I really don't have a good move against Skarmory, so I just end up going for return to see how much it does, and it does an okay amount of damage as I hit it twice and I knock it into the hyper potion range. Skarmory gets healed up with a hyper potion, and of course return does about a third of HP every single time we use it, so 2 is almost enough to take it out. As we get hit with a Steel Wing, 1 more is enough to take it out. Even though return was resisted on Skarmory, this actually went pretty well. Last up is Altaria at level 33, and I end up missing a return as it sets up a Dragon Dance, raising its attack and speed as it hits us with an Earthquake, doing a pitiful amount of damage. 1 return's almost enough to take it out, but it stupidly ends up going for Dragon Dance again instead of attacking, and we just take it out with 1 more return. And time again we end up winning because the AI is just stupid. I then make my way to the top of Mount Pyre as Archie tells us he took the red orb to control Kyogre. Yep, that doesn't even make any sense, but okay. Gee, I wonder what could go wrong with that. I then catch a good burb and name him H and fly so we could fly to the magma hideout. I then catch a Machop and name him Strong instead of Strong. It was a mistake, but it's a funny mistake, so I'm gonna keep it so we could use HM Strength. Once I make my way inside the magma hideout, we have to fight Maxie once again. He leads off with a level 37 Mightyena who has Intimidate unfortunately, but it's not going to save his Mightyena from getting absolutely destroyed with a critical hit from Eevee. Maxie then sends out a level 38 Crobat who ends up going for Confuse Ray, but luckily Eevee's not that confused and ends up hitting Crobat, doing a decent amount of Crobat. Maxie then goes for a Super Potion on Crobat, and I just end up using Return once again, bringing it into the red as I go for Quick Attack as Maxie uses another Super Potion, which is just silly. Eevee then gets hit with an Air Cutter as I finish off Crobat with 1 more return. Maxie's last Pokemon is a Camerupt at level 39, so I just end up going for Return like always, but it's not quite enough to take it out as we get hit with an Earthquake, only bringing us down to 37 HP, but we finish it off with 1 more return. I'm waiting for the one person in the comments to be like,
This should be, can you beat Pokemon Emerald with only return?
you know what? You should all do it because it's good for the YouTube algorithm. Now that I've made my way inside the Aqua hideout, I have to beat Team Aqua admin Matt. He leads off with a level 34 Mightyena, and I go for return, and he actually ends up surviving, hitting us with a Scary Face, lowering our speed. He then goes for a Super Potion for some reason, as I just end up using Quick Attack twice to finish it off. His last Pokemon is a Golbat at level 34, so I just end up going for Quick Attack just to lower his HP because I was afraid I was going to knock him into potion range. Then I end up using return to finish it off. And then even though he said he wasn't stalling for time, it ends up he was actually stalling for time, and then submarine goes bye-bye, and then I feel like I'm a big dumb. Next up is the 7th Gym Leaders Tate and Liza. 2 Pokemon are required for this battle, so you can't just go in with one, so I bring HM Boy as he is the weakest and will get one hit by literally anything they do. I end up going for Bite on Claydol to try to get the flinch, but unfortunately I don't get the bite, but I do end up taking it out with return the next turn. I noticed throughout these attempts that Zoctu liked to use Calm Mind a lot, so I just keep on targeting the right side as it just kept using Calm Mind. I end up taking out Zoctu on this turn because it did set up a few Calm Minds, and we already took out 2 on the right side, so the only one left is Solrock at level 42. Solrock ends up using Solar Beam here, getting a critical hit, doing a lot of damage, leaving us with only about a third of our HP left. I'm not sure whether we could survive a Flamethrower or not, so I go for Bite to try to get the flinch, and I actually do end up getting the flinch as Solrock eats his Citrus Berry. I go for Bite again and get a flinch once again. Now of course they are going to use a Hyper Potion on Solrock here, so I just end up going for Bite, doing about half, and I know 1 more is enough to take it out, and finally I end up beating Tate and Liza. It did take too many attempts, but it definitely wasn't easy. I need a Mon that could actually use Dive and Waterfall, so I'm just surfing around, and oh my gosh, it's the elusive Tentacle. I cannot believe that we encountered one of these things. Okay, we gotta catch this quick with a Master Ball, because if we use any other kind of ball, it's going to just absolutely break out. Oh my goodness, guys, we actually caught it with a Master Ball. I heard that even if we use a Master Ball on this thing, it has a 50% chance of breaking out. We then have to do this double battle with Steven against Team Magma, and it actually went pretty well. We end up winning very first try. Next up is Archie, and this battle's not really worth talking about as I just use return and destroy his entire team relatively easy. Kyogre then flies away. There's a lot of sun, then a lot of rain, then we have to go talk to a dragon. The dragon yells at Groudon and Kyogre, and then boom, we're at 1. 1 is a water type gym leader, so I don't really think we're gonna have much of a struggle here. He leads off with a level 41 Luvdisc, and of course it goes down to only 1 return. Next out is Juan's level 41 Whiscash, and I end up going for return, and it actually ends up being a critical hit, so we take it out in only 1 hit. Now that we've taken care of Whiscash, next up is Celio at level 43, so I end up going for return like always, and again it's another 1-hit KO. Next Next up is a level 43 Crawdaunt, so I end up going for return, and it ends up doing a lot of damage, but it ends up hanging on and then hitting us with a Crab Hammer. One then heals up Crawdaunt with a Hyper Potion as I go for quick attack, and then one more return to finish it off. Honestly, return has been such a good move for this run. One's last Pokemon is a level 46 Kingdra, and I end up going for return, doing a good chunk of damage, but it ends up going for double team, raising its evasiveness as it gets healed up with a Hyper Potion as well. I miss my first return, but then my second one connects and I end up getting a critical hit, taking out Kingdra and just absolutely destroying Juan. And one disappointing gym battle later, I do get the 8th and final gym badge from Juan. Now that one's out of the way, we have to go through Victory Road, and the only battle worth talking about in Victory Road is of course Wally. Also, I forgot to mention, I gave Eevee a Silk Scarf a little bit ago to boost Return's power even more. Wally leads off with a level 44 Altaria, so I end up going for return, doing a good amount of damage, almost taking it out, and it hits us with an aerial ace, and then it gets hit with a full restore, so I quick attack and then return to finish. I can't believe we still have quick attack on our moveset, to be honest. Next up is Delcatty at level 43, and this thing is very weak and fragile, so I end up taking it out with a return. Wally's next Pokemon is a level 41 Magneton, and I just go for return just to see what it will do, and it does a stupid amount of damage even though it was resisted. 2 returns was enough to take it out. After Magneton's taken care of, next up is a level 44 Roselia, and it goes down to 1 return, no surprise there. And last but not least is Wally's Gardevoir at level 45, and it goes down with 1 return, unfortunately for him. And with Wally taken care of, I'm gonna grind up, make my way through Victory Road, and then take on the Elite Four. Eventually, I do grind my way up to level 72, and then use the 3 rare candies I've got along my journey to get Eevee all the way up at level 75. Elite Four time. First up is Sydney, and he uses dark types of course, so I end up going for return, almost taking out Mightyena. Mightyena then hits us with a sand attack, and then gets healed up with a full restore as I use return once again, bringing it back into the red. I try to finish it off with return, but I end up missing as it hits us with a double edge, and then I use bite to finish it off. Now that we've taken care of Mightyena, next up is Shiftry at level 48, and Shiftry ends up going for the stupidest move possible, using Swagger on Eevee, getting our attack raised by 2 stages. I end up taking Shiftry out in only 2 returns, and I don't hit myself in confusion luckily, and I'm super glad that he did use Swagger because now my attack is at +1 instead of -1. Next out is Cacturn, and I don't hit myself in confusion once again as I'm able to easily one-shot it. Next up is Crawdaunt at level 48, and I go for return of course, but I end up hitting myself in confusion and then getting hit with a surf, bringing us dangerously low. Luckily, I don't hit myself in confusion this next turn, and I end up taking it out with a return. And the very last turn, I end up snapping out of confusion and one-shotting Absol. Surprisingly enough, this was my first attempt, so I'm super happy it went this way. Next up is Phoebe, who uses ghost types, and in case you guys haven't noticed, I did pick up the TM for Shadow Ball and Mount Pyre. For some reason, Shadow Ball is physical in this game, so it's gonna do pretty well. One Shadow Ball is almost enough to take out Dusclops, but of course it gets healed up with a full restore, and then it just stalls with Protect as I just keep using Shadow Ball and eventually take it out. Next up is Banette at level 49, and Banette has poor physical defense, so I'm able to one-shot it with Shadow Ball. Next up is Sableye at level 50, and I end up going for Shadow Ball, but of course it's not super effective because in this game he has no super effective weakness. He falls to only 2 Shadow Balls. Next up is her other Banette at level 49, and it ends up going down to a super effective Shadow Ball as well. Next up is her level 51 Dusclops, who is more offensive than her other one, so I end up hitting it with a Shadow Ball, doing a lot of damage as it hits us with an Earthquake. As funny as this is, I did get the special defense drop with Shadow Ball, so I use a special move, Bite, to take it out, which I know doesn't make any sense. Next up is Glacia, and I had to use double team for this battle because if I didn't, I would have to grind up like another 15 levels because it wasn't even close. It takes a few turns, but after I set up all my double teams, I end up hitting it with a Bite, doing a little bit of damage, and then I hit it with a return to finish it off. Next out is a Glalie at level 50, and I just end up using return. It gets healed up, but then I hit it once again and it gets taken out. The same thing happens to Celio, going down with only 2 returns, and then I one-shot her other Glalie at level 52 as well. Last up is Wolverine, and even though this thing is an absolute tank, return is just too strong at this point since we are at level 76 and do have a Silk Scarf on. And in a pretty uneventful battle, we end up beating Glacia. Next up is Drake though, and I'm definitely not looking forward to that. Drake is the Dragon type user in the Elite Four and definitely one of the hardest to beat, so I set up 6 double teams just to give us a chance to win. Shogun ends up missing almost everything except a double edge at the end as I finish it off with a bite and then return. His Altaria sadly shares the same fate as it goes down to 2 returns as well, and the same exact thing happens to Kingdra and Flygon. Last is Salamence at level 55. Now Salamence is an absolute beast, but I end up getting a critical hit on Salamence, making it a 2-hit as well. This battle probably took around 50 attempts, so it definitely wasn't easy. Well, now that Drake's out of the way, last up is the champion Wallace. Unlike Ruby and Sapphire, Wallace is the champion for Pokemon Emerald. But if we're able to beat Wallace, we're definitely going to go after Steven as well. Wallace leads off with a level 57 Wailord, and I don't want this thing hurting me too bad with Water Spout, so I end up going for return just to do damage to it, but I end up getting a critical hit and taking taking it out, surprisingly enough. Next out is Tentacle, and ends up hitting us with a Hydro Pump after I take it out with a few returns. Next up is Ludicolo, and I know this thing wanted to set up double teams, so I just wanted to set up double teams as well, and I just figured I would take my chances with it. Now we both have 6 double teams set up at this point, and I end up hitting both my Shadow Balls and getting a critical hit to take it out. This took a lot of attempts to do, guys. That was just my lucky break. We're able to take out Whiscash with a couple of returns, and next up is Gyarados, who also goes down to a couple returns and Shadow Ball, and last is Melodic, and we get a critical hit to take it out. That was just absolutely crazy, guys. Of course I was streaming this at the time. It did take a lot of attempts, but chat was freaking out. I was freaking out. We all had a great time doing this run. Normally I would tell you guys to subscribe and like and end the video, but we're gonna go take on Steven now. I did try a lot of different move combinations to beat Steven, but finally I think I found the right one. Swagger, of course, is a super good move and does a ton of damage if you get lucky enough. I end up going to the Magma Hideout and picking up the PP Max because it's absolutely necessary if you want to win the way I want to win. At the very beginning of the video, I said that Bite wasn't going to be good, but it has a flinch chance, which is going to be absolutely crucial. Now that I've used the PP Max on Bite, we have 40 turns of PP with it, which is pretty crazy. Bite may seem like the only attacking move we have, but we also have Mimic, and we're going to try to use that on Earthquake so we could use it against him. I picked up a few more rare candies, and now I'm at level 88, and I think it's enough to take on Steven. Okay, I'm going to bore you with the strategy really quick, and then we'll get into it. I'm only going to use double team a few times. If I set up all 6 double teams, he's just going to spam Aerial Ace, and it will take us out eventually. Skarmory also has Toxic, so this is why the flinch chance for Bite is so crucial. I'm pretty sure if we spam Bite, Skarmory's going to end up either missing or flinching almost all of his attacks, and eventually we'll take him out. Well guys, here goes nothing. Steven leads off with a level 77 Skarmory, and if Skarmory hits Toxic, of course we have the reset. The combination of double team Bite and Swagger, we end up taking out Skarmory exactly the way I predicted. This is probably the hardest part of the entire battle, and even if you get past this part, that doesn't mean you'll win. Usually every time we got past Skarmory, we'd end up with low HP, but this run we actually end up beating Skarmory and getting to his next Pokemon with full HP. And I still can't set up all my double teams because his next Pokemon is an Armaldo, and this thing has Aerial Ace as well. So once again, I have to use a combination of Swagger and Bite to get past him. Our strategy was working, but then Armaldo hit us with a boosted agent power, which did a lot of damage and brought us pretty low. Finally though, we do end up taking out Armaldo, and next up is Claydol. Claydol is going to be the one where we steal the Earthquake from and also set up all of our double teams on. Luckily Claydol ends up missing most of his Earthquakes as I'm able to recover some HP, set up all my double teams, and then use Mimic to steal his Earthquake as well. Once I finally have all my double teams set up, I just have the hope that Claydol doesn't hit us with another Earthquake as I start spamming Bite. The amount of unnecessary luck I get right here is crazy. I get 3 flinches in a row, and then I get 2 critical hits with Bite after that after he gets healed up. That's just insane. Next up is Aggron at level 76, and I end up using one of the 5 Earthquakes I have doing a lot of damage, and for some reason he sets up a Solar Beam, which is just stupid. I really don't know why he would do that. I then make Steven waste another full restore on Aggron just so I could bring his HP back down with Earthquake. After I do connect with Earthquake, it does a lot of damage, bringing him back into the red, and I just finish him off with a few more bites. I honestly think if I didn't have Earthquake, this battle would be impossible to do. Next out is Cordelia level 76. Now this got super annoying, and I had to make Cordelia kill itself because I could not use those Earthquake PPs on Cordelia because I needed to save those for Metagross. Honestly, Cordelia was such a drawn out battle. Now he actually almost does end up taking us out since I did use Swagger on him so many times. He hits us with a ×6 agent power, which brought us down to 2 HP. In the end though, this does end up going good for us as we finally get Cordelia to kill itself in confusion with Swagger. I mean, it took literally like 30 minutes, but you know, it worked out in the end. And last but not least is his ace Metagross at level 78. Surprisingly enough, Metagross takes a Earthquake pretty well as I'm able to hit it with another Earthquake to bring it into the red, and it heals itself up with a Citrus Berry. Luckily, he does end up missing all his attacks as I do finish him off with our final Earthquake. That took literally forever to do, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button below as it helps out the channel, and if you want to subscribe to help out the channel as well, I would really appreciate it. If you disliked the video, please leave a dislike and tell me how I can improve down in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video and want to see more, I do have a ton of challenge runs I've done on this channel so far. I hope you go check them out, guys, but seriously, thank you a ton for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.